Hey everyone. Uh, in this tutorial, I'm going to create this asset, a fairly simple design here of a book. All right, started out as a cube, and I simply extruded three of these faces inwards a little bit, and I extruded the cover up and the back of the book out. I also created a bevel for the spine of this area, so that was just a single face, and I just created a bevel. Okay, I also made sure that none of my edges were penetrating other faces, etc. You have to be careful of that as you model, because if I come in close, I could have easily have had some of these little vertices popping through. See, like that. That is non-manifold geometry, and you want to avoid that. So just make sure that your faces are not sticking through other faces. Very important. So let's get started. We'll start out with a cube. Okay, I'm going to move to the modeling menu over here because we'll predominantly be using extrude and perhaps multicut. Now, a cube, right, let's create a book shape. So we'll use our scale tool, R, flatten it a bit. So it's about like a book, and I'll scale it uniformly with the light blue arrow. Maybe a bit bigger, something like that. Scale it down a bit. Alright, that looks like a book shape to me. Right, alright, let's create the spine of the book. I'll select this back face. That'll be the spine. Okay, and by the way, Y is up. So up in that direction. Let's do a bevel. And there we go. Okay, I could leave it like that. That's fine. But I will increase the increment by 1. Just like that. So the segment, sorry, not increment, segment. Alright, let's now create the book cover. Alright, so I'll grab 1, holding shift 2 and 3. Remember, there's the cover on the top. I'm just going to extrude these in a little bit. So extrude, and I'm going to go uniform, so click on a scale handle and then the light blue one. Click and drag. Right, that's not too bad. That's about the thickness of the pages. And I'm going to bring them down a little bit. Nice big thick cover. About like that. Okay. Now I'm looking around and I don't have any non-manifold geometry, like for example a face or a edge going through another edge like that, or pushing through anything. It's very important. I'm going to pull this edge and this other edge back just a little bit, more like that. Okay, and I might even bring these two forward a little bit. It's just the look I'm going for. Yours might be slightly different, of course. Okay, all right. That, in essence, is a book shape. Would you agree? Now, things would change, of course, if I wanted the book cover to actually open. Then I'd probably create a totally separate cube, which would be the book cover. All right, I would have done something like more like this and really flatten that down. Okay, and just remember, if you did want an actual cover, I wouldn't have created the cover like this, like that one. And most importantly, you need to move the pivot point D, right? D. This way I could rotate the cover. Now after the modeling process I selected my book and I deleted the history, which was Alt Shift D, or alternatively edit, delete by type, history. Okay, now what we are interested is UV unwrapping the book. So we go to, make sure you're in modeling, UV editor. Now this book I've already UV unwrapped, so just to show you what it would look like. So here is the front, the back, the spine that I have sewed together And these are those pages. Here is the long edge and the two bottom and top edges of the book with all the pages. Okay, now I haven't physically modeled every single page. No, I'll do that in texturing. We'll be using Substance Painter. So let's have a go at UV unwrapping. So we're going to start this process again. Okay, and I will show you one thing that may be of interest to you. You do have these cut and sew tools down here in the UV toolkit, these ones. So I could easily select some of these edges like that, and I could cut them. Now it denotes I can check by right clicking, holding the right mouse button, and that is still not a cut. So I'll try it again. Edge, maybe this one, cut. That is a cut. See, it denotes by the white. I can hit G to repeat the last tool. Now because these two are now white, see, along the seam, there's now got a seam. I could right click this again, holding the right mouse button, UV shell. Now that's a separate shell, and so is this. So that's how it originally started out. I UV unwrapped the spine with a planar map, the cover and the back. So let's go through that process just to show you. Let's do another UV map because you can easily go over the entire book. I'll click book and I can go create. I'll go camera based. So this is one shell now, remember, see, one shell, but it's not very good because the fact is for UV unwrapping it won't unfold very well, will it? Modify, unfold, or control plus U. If I hit that, that is it, because we don't have any cuts to unfold it. So we need to start thinking strategically, how are we going to cut this? Well, one, you need to cut along the edges. So I would suggest placing a cut maybe around the cover. I'll just move this over around the cover. So I'm going to grab, double click, and if I'm lucky, hit number 4. I can see, has it gone all the way around my edge selection? No, it has not. Try this one. Oh, this one stopped just here, so I'll carry that on holding shift, double click. Let's go around here just to confirm. There, that one has all the way around. It's important that you get an entire loop. It doesn't disconnect and suddenly stop. Now let's create our first cut. I could go cut, sew, cut. There we go. Now we can check this in our UV editor. Right click and hold UV shell. I drag over to UV shell, and there we go. See, that's our first. All right, let's do the same for the bottom. We're looking around, and I'm going to decide edge. Oh, double click. Does that go all the way around? I don't think so. It stops. Get up nice and close. There. Okay. Sometimes you really got to scrutinize it. That looks much better. Okay, cool. Let's do another cut. Sometimes if it does not disconnect and you get a separate shell, it probably means you haven't cut all the way around. Let's have a look. Grab that shell, move it over. I now know that is the bottom of my book. Oh, actually, let me check that. Oh, right now, Y is facing that way. So I better flip it over. That's up. Y is up, green is up. So that's the bottom of my book. There's the bottom. This is the top. And this obviously are my pages. So I start to make a plan here. I could even rotate this a little bit. Right? And by the way, you can actually use some of these tools like modify. What about straighten shell or straighten UVs? Let's try it. Oh, it straightened it. Try it again. Modify, straighten UVs. That looks pretty good. So there's the top, the bottom, and now let's work on this, the pages. Let's go over to the spine, remember? Where can I chop that? Looks to me like about here and maybe up to here, down to that other seam. Remember, I'll stop at the seam because this time I only want to go, there's the seam up there, get in a better position where I can see what I'm actually doing. Maybe I'll hit number 5 to have a look. My seam is, I'll go from there down to there. Whoops. There. Actually, there, and there. I think that'll do. Let's just check. Oh, I forgot to grab this one. Better grab this one again. So there, and there. Alright, let's try our cut. And let's see if we're lucky enough to get a shell. And I think we have. Yes, awesome. That means let's try the modify, straighten UVs, bring it up. I know it's not perfect, not too bad though. Right, probably facing the wrong direction, but now we've only got the pages to do. Let's have a look at this. Now think about that, it's like a U shape. We need to straighten it out. Now if I grab the whole UV shell and go maybe modify, straighten border, maybe didn't do much. Let's try it again. UV straighten shell, nothing. Let's try modify, straighten UVs. Oh, that did straighten them. Probably not the direction we want to go. So we know that this part, let's just chop it right there for now. There, down to holding shift, double click, cut that. Shift X was the cut, wasn't it? We'll do the same over here. All the way up to the next seam. Waste of time not hitting the seam. Alright. Right click, what do we get? Do we get shells? Yes, we do. Awesome. Okay. We know that's the front. Modify. I'm going to click unfold. Unfold's great. Modify, unfold, and you can hit G to repeat last tool. These are now looking good. This one too, modify, unfold. See? Now I know that's the spine, but it's not a very good shape compared to that. Not the same shape, so we definitely need to stretch these out a bit. I'll rotate it a bit first. Bit like, I'll pull it in a bit closer just so you guys can see. More like that, isn't it? And we'll go modify, straighten. There we go. Alright, I think you guys get where I'm going here. Put that maybe there. This one here, I'm looking in here and I'm going to go, that looks like, what end is that? Not sure yet. Let's have a look. I'm going to scale it out a bit. That makes sense to me. Modify, straighten UVs. Nice. Now to check if it's the top or the bottom, we should be able to grab an edge. And they should be, try one of these edges. Which ones are they linking to? That one, see, it says here. Okay, up the top there, look. Red and red. And I'll turn this off just so you guys can see that. Red and red. Okay. That one's up the other end. So I'm going to move this UV shell up to that end. I could probably even rotate it. And let's see what we get there. Right click, edge. See? Okay, looks like it needs to be flipped around. The shell, remember? Like that. Might make a bit more sense. Alright, what's this one? This looks like the other end. And it is. Let us do the same. I'm going to rotate it a bit. I think like that, is it? Scale. Not perfect. Let's go modify, straighten UVs. Is this one up this end or the other end? Let's have a look. Right click, grab some, oh, it looks like it's over here. Right click, UV shell, move it over, scale it down, a bit like that. Okay, so I'm going to just continue doing this. So I'm going to, rather than having so many seams like this, I'm going to use my sew tool, and I use the interactive sew, and I'm going to sew some of these together. So I just come over that, I highlight them and left click, drag, left click, drag. Now I did position these UV shells so they're, in the right position, and one here and one here. Now that eliminates a lot of the seams. Okay guys, just before I export my UV unwrapped book over ready for texturing in Substance Painter, I'm just going to explain one thing that I'm going to do here, especially if, for example, you open up your book in Substance Painter and you notice that some of the faces are a bit strange in terms of the textures. Might be, for example, blank areas on a normal map. I recommend coming back into Maya and selecting your UV unwrap that you've created and just come up to here and try a modify unfold. Okay, unfold. That's unfolded it, and this is run a mathematical algorithm, and it's unfolded it, and this is what Maya feels is the best layout. So I'm going to run with this, but I need to put it into that one-to-one space inside this here. So I'll go modify again. This time I'll click layout. That scales it into place. All right. I'll even scale it just a little bit more so it's inside, no overlapping area here. All right. Okay, that's a little tip there. Now I'm ready to take my book and export it over, which was File, Export Selection. Remember, save it as an FBX. Now I'm going to open up this in Substance Painter. So I'm just opening Painter now. So while Painter's opening, I'll just say it was File, Export, and make sure it's FBX. And here's my one, book 1.fbx. Okay. All right. I think Substance is now open. Yes, it is. I'll say no to that. All right. She's opening up now, as you can see. All right. Let's import and see how we go. So we don't import, sorry. That's a bad term. We go File, New. It's a new project. And up here, I'm going to select PBR, metallic roughness, as my file. Let's navigate to where your file is, my FBX file. Open that. Change my document resolution, 2048. I'm going to turn off import cameras and auto unwrap. And then I'll hit OK. So make sure those two are off. Wait a couple of seconds and fingers crossed you should get a book, right? Similar to this. Now the first thing we do, don't just start painting, remember, you've got to come across to your texture set settings, 2048, that's the resolution I'm going for, and I'm going to bake mesh maps, this button. I'm not using an ID, so I'll turn that off. Turn thickness off as well. 512, 2048 is what I want, and bake selected textures. Wait a couple of seconds, run through the calculations, and OK. All right, now you're in a position to be able to start texturing. I notice I have some strange little, looks like a little artifact going on here. That might have been the calculation, but I'll come back to layers. And if I actually, by the way, I'm in material mode, which is with lights turned on, the environment lighting. If I were to drag a smart material maybe, or a material onto my book, I'll just try what's some bronze, bone, etc. I'll try bone, drag and drop it. There we go. Now I have this artifact at the moment. See that? But if I push C on my keyboard and I have a look, there's the base color. That's also showing a bit of an artifact there. So I really need to go back to Maya and fix that. Alright, so I'll do that now and I'll get back to you. Let's have a look. Okay guys, so here is the book imported, right? And here is a layout of the flattened 2D view. You can in fact just be aware that you can paint in the 2D view as well. All right. Now, one thing I do want to mention regarding that texture set settings, when I baked the mesh, they come out like this. Sometimes you might bake your mesh and you might get all these little weird artifacts. I've found that scrolling down through some of these, and for example, down here, I turned off average normals, and that helped me. So it come out a lot cleaner. Okay. Just be aware of that. Then I hit bake selected textures. Okay, cool. So these are my textures that we will be editing. All right, so let's now flip over to layers. Okay, here's our first layer. I'll rename this, I'll call it base layer. Makes sense, right? And now I'm going to go over to maybe smart materials, and now I'm trying to create one of these gothic, really old looking books, maybe with a leather cover. So maybe there's leather in here. Oh yeah, here's some leather. I'll run with maybe not that one. I'm looking for something a bit old and maybe leatherette, maybe this one. I'll drag and drop it, left mouse, drag and drop onto my book, let it go. That looks pretty good for a base. Okay, now one thing I will mention here, do you notice it's also applied it to where the paper, the actual pages are? Now if you do not want to apply it to that, back in Maya you need to create what's called a color ID, and you need to do that before you export it out. Okay, it's not difficult. I'll just show you quickly what I'm talking about here. You would simply select the faces where you want your first material, and when you apply the color ID, it will create different materials according to the faces you've selected. What does that mean? Let me show you. I'm going to go Hypershade, and I'm going to create multiple of these. So I'll just go Control D. I'll do it, say, 3 times, right? 3 times. There's my book. Here is my second one. Oh, I'm going to have to come back here and actually grab these again, by the way. My bad. It's okay. Just that one, this one, and that one. Just 3 faces I'm going for. Right click and assign material. Now it's the same looking material, but I'll change the color now. Maybe a bright red. Okay. Oops. Was that the right one? Sorry, I grabbed the wrong one. Ha! There it is there. So this has got this one applied, the blue one, sorry, there. And I'll even call this one pages. Right, so it helps me. Blue. The red one is the book cover. So I'll call this one cover. Okay, enter. I know I've backtracked a little bit here, but I think it's worthwhile you guys seeing this. Now if I wanted to do the spine differently, I would then select the faces of the spine. Okay. And just to show you guys, remember these are color IDs. And I'll go this third one. Boink. Now I'll change the color of that to maybe, oh, make sure I do have the third one. Which was, is that correct? Just want to make sure I got the right one there. cover, pages. So book 2, this one. I'm just going to change that. Make sure I've maybe to yellow. There we go. So this one was spine. I'll call it spine. Okay. And so I've got spine, cover, and pages. All right. So those are in fact color IDs. All I've changed is the color. Make them very vibrant, high contrast colors. Okay. And what this does, back in Substance Painter, when I export this, it'll show up as separate materials. Let's do that. I will now select this book and I'll export it again, which means I get it. I've got to restart or reopen a new project in Substance so as I can import this one, but that's okay. File, export selection. I think it's a good idea that you guys see these color IDs. Export, yes. All right, let's go back in. Here we are in Painter. So notice how that one was one uniform color. And up here under texture set list, we've only got one. Now let's bring in the new one. New. Let's select our book again. Open. 2048 and OK. Discard the old one. Now we're going to have to go back through, remember. Now there we go. This is what I'm talking about. Up the top here, I now have a cover, a pages, and a spine. 3 materials, and we use color IDs. Okay, let's go to texture set settings. Scroll down. Okay, there they are there. Everything good. All right. And bake mesh maps. Now in here, I've turned off average normals. Okay, I want to keep it as it is. And bake selected textures. Now we let it go through its calculations and fingers crossed. Now there are a few more this time, remember, because we've got 3 different materials running here. All right, be aware of that. So I can go pages. Now here is the pages. Here is the cover. Okay, and here is the spine. So let's go to cover. Now all I'll be painting is the actual cover. I have to keep that in mind. The cover and the bottom cover, by the way. All right, keep that in mind. So now I go to my layers and I'll call this one cover. Okay. And I'm going to use that leatherette. Drag and drop it. Notice this time it only applies it to the cover. Great. Not to the spine, not to the pages. Okay, fantastic. And I'm reasonably happy with that actually. Let's place an image on it. Now, of course, I could create a new layer now. Maybe this one. There we go. And I could do some painting if I wish. Maybe gold armor. Or let's make sure we choose an actual material. Maybe this one. There we go. See? So as you can see, it's working. All right. Maybe I wanted a little bit of yellow down the side here. I'll increase that a bit. Maybe on the edges or the bottom. Just along here, up here, maybe a little bit worn. Okay, and I'll use the smudge tool as well. I'm trying to get different effects here, and maybe I'm not too happy with that. I want to change my brush because my brush looked a little bit too uniform. Let's go for, say, a dirt brush. All right, what have I got here? Electric lines. I've got so many different brushes. Right, so coming up through these are Kyle's concept brushes. I downloaded these myself, so you can get Kyle's brushes, which are really neat. I highly recommend them. Let's try this one maybe. Is that one working? Looks like it's not working on there. Maybe I'll come up to another one. This one looks like it's only Photoshop. It's saying, they're not working for me. Okay. Where's that dirt? F fibers, bullet, cracks. Oh, cracks might be a good one. There we go. Look at that. There's some cracks being applied. And I'll just, whoops, I'll reduce the size of my brush with the bracket keys. Bit of a cracking around, just not too much, but a bit of cracking here. Alright, that's pretty neat. I still like the dirt. Here we go, there's some dirt on this layer, and I better select a color now from my materials. I'll go a little bit of this. Now I'm just having a bit of fun here, by the way, at the moment. So there we go. See that? And I'll maybe go slight leathery, and I'll make this brush a bit bigger. Just dirtying things up a bit. Okay. I'm going to reduce the opacity. Something like that. It's spotty, okay? Alright. I'll even reduce the size of my brush in some parts. Not so even. Alright, that'll do for now. Now next up, I'm going to place an image in here. So I'm going to come across to my textures there, and I'm going to go down the bottom, this little plus, which is add a resource, import resource. Alright, add resource. Now I'm going to look for my image, desktop, book, and all files. Oh, where is it? That's not it, remember, that's the FBX. So I'm just going to look for an image. Actually, you know what? I'll go online and I'll show you which book cover. This one here is what I found. I just typed old book cover. Right click, save image as. I'm going to put that in that book area. So desktop, inside book, and I'll call this old book texture 1. Why not? So you guys can see that. It's a JPEG. Hopefully that'll work. Let's see what we get here. Oh, there it is. Straight away. Open it. Now we can see it. Okay, it's undefined. It's okay. Old book texture. Better tell it where I want to import it to, which would be my current session, please. And import. Yes. Now I should be able to see that in here. Where is it? Now the hard part is to find it. Was it old? Can't quite find it. I'm just searching for it again. You guys, so just give me a moment and I'll search for it. Project. Texture. Okay, here it is. So what I did wrong when I imported it, just to make it easier for yourself, is when you do your import there, add resource, you find your image, of course, and make sure that you go undefined and go say texture, wherever you're going to keep it. And then I put it in library your assets or current session. Okay, so there it is here. I'm going to drag this into my over here. All right, and I'll add it as a base color. Just wait a moment. There it is. All right, so I could now come in here and resize it, rotate it like that. And I'm just going to position this where I wish. Right, that looks pretty good. Quite nice. I'll pull it out a bit more. Neat. I'm just going to hide the spine because I'll use that later. Alright. Happy with that? So that might be the top of the book. Okay. Alright, next up I'm going to swap from cover to spine. Here I'm the spine. This time I'll apply the same again to the base color. I will rotate it, and I better go over so I can see what I'm doing. Rotate it, and I only want the spine. Hopefully it's high enough resolution. See what we get here. Bring it down. Yeah, it's fairly low res, but see what we get. It's really stretched out, so obviously I should have picked a larger material, larger resolution, like maybe a 2K, 4K one. I'll run with that though, that's okay. Okay, not perfect, but not too bad. There, you can see that. Looks like an old book to me. Cool, so that's how you'd import and adjust an image. I'll put that into the spine layer. Let's go now to the pages. Here are the pages, and through this one I'll start out with a, get rid of that, I will start with a, maybe a smart material, something that looks maybe like paper. Do we have paper here? A lot of plastic, no paper. I'll try then wax candle. No, I'll just go with a normal brush then. We'll go a brush, and what I'm going to add here instead is a fill layer. Drop in a fill layer, and I will actually change the color of my fill, the base color, slightly yellowy, just off white. See that? Something like that. Not too yellow, slightly off. Okay, that's a good start. Now what I'm also interested in here, if I scroll down, see through this list of properties, I've got normal. Now let's add a normal map. So we'll paint our own. We'll go to, let's look for some. I'll go to smart mask. No. Let's keep moving to our textures. Here we go. So these blue ones are our normal maps, right? And we should be able to isolate those to, let me just have a look. All libraries, project, oh no, that's fine. So I'm just going to scroll down through these until I find maybe just a line, so I could paint them like lines. This one, where was it? Just trying to find a fairly simple line. Maybe this one. Let's try that. I'm going to drag this, left mouse drag it over onto normal, like that. There we go. Alright, now I could adjust this a little bit. Right. Now alternatively, I'm just going to undo that. Now that was a fill layer, remember? So I will turn that off. That's how you'd add it to a fill. But I don't want a fill. I want to paint them myself. So I'll create a new layer. Let's paint a, come down here, change the brush to, where is it, alpha. I'm just going to get rid of some of these. In particular, we don't want a stencil. So I'm just going to go a totally different brush right now. Alright. So I'm just getting rid of some of this. Where am I? Down this one. Get rid of the alpha. Stencil. So I'm going to turn off this one. Substance material. I don't want a material. I want to select my own normal. So let's grab that one again. We'll try it again. Drag it onto the normal. Okay. Now at the same time, if I just start painting now, quite a large brush, right? Reduce it right down, and my actual brush, I'm going to change that as well to just a very plain basic head like that. Undoing that. And so what I'm doing, I just want to show you that you can change your the normals in here. Okay, that's what I'm doing. And by the way, these ones, the materials, I don't need color, I don't need roughness or opacity or emissive, so I'll turn those off. See? So now I should be able to paint with one of those. Where are they again? I'm just going back through looking for them. Here they are. I'll even try maybe this one, bevel line. So I'll drag that onto the normal, which is, where's my normal? Maybe I turned it off. Normal's on. There's height, there it is. So I'll just drag that one into maybe height. Oh, and get rid of that normal and drag it onto there. Actually, I meant to put it onto normal, not onto height, so I'll just get rid of that. Alright, let's try it. There we go. See that? I've just changed it and I'll use this one instead. So now I'm able to achieve what looks to me like pages. Maybe a little bit ruffled. And I'm just painting these through. Okay. Now I could undo that, and if I wanted to, I click left click once, hold shift, nice straight lines like that instead. So this is just one way. I'm not saying you have to do it like this. I'm just trying to introduce you to different techniques. That's all I'm doing. So, you know, I'll keep working with this and I'll keep adjusting them, maybe making some of these even smaller and a little bit thinner, etc. Alright, see that? I've just changed my brush size using the brackets beside P on my keyboard. You've got two brackets there. I'll just increase that a bit. So I'm just having a bit of fun. And I'll do a couple more. Alright, so just trying to show you guys different techniques. Hopefully this will help you in your endeavors to texturing. Alright, let's say that's done. Happy with that. I'll do the same here all the way through. I'll just brush these in quickly, okay guys? And by the way, I might even decide, I might even use the smudge tool as well. I'll increase this a little bit now, the size of my brush, to make some larger ones. Know what I mean? Starting to look booky to me. Okay, that'll do. Cool. Okay. And if I wanted to, I could put a cover on here, maybe some writing. I could import other materials. I could even come back to my cover, back onto cover, and I could come in with, say, get rid of that now. Oh, create a new one, sorry. I could get a new normal, which is the line. I might go with this cross. Let me show you. Drop it onto normal. And I could, in fact, make this larger. I'll just show you guys. Maybe it's got a cross in here like that. See? Imprinted into it. That is a normal map in action. Pretty cool. Maybe a bit smaller. Maybe I'll put one over here in the corner. So there, and there's one there. Like that. Maybe a large one on the back. Or a symbol of some type. No, I'll just run with that. There we go. Okay. Cool. That'll do. Okay. Got my spine. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Of course, I could spend a lot more time in here and maybe add different effects, etc. Coming in here, and maybe I'd eventually move into materials, get something red that looks maybe, I don't know, use a normal brush here. I can start painting. Maybe I wanted a little bit of blood. I don't know, it's like that. And then I could use my smudge it a bit. Okay. So many different tools here, guys. Smudge. Using smudge in here. Okay. All right. Let's export this back out to Maya now. That's the next step. File. Export textures. Remember, we're going to have 3 different materials. Okay, see? I'm going to a template. I'll go not Amazon Lumberyard. I want PBR Metallic Roughness. That one. And right, there they are. That's what'll pop out. And I'll hit export. Oh, before I do that, I better tell it where, so as I know where it's going to export to. I'll put it back into the desktop, into book. There's a good idea. Okay. Let's do export. There we go. Fairly quick, right? Let's go back into Maya now. Remember, 3 materials. So let's take a look. Our spine material. Click this one to erase everything. This one to bring up just the spine. I'll add the spine. Color. Now we can go in and select File. Look for our file, which is Desktop, Book, and Cover. No, it was Spine, wasn't it? Spine, Base. There it is. There's our base, and we better check it. If I hit number 6 on the keyboard, now you can see it. Number 5 is grayscale, number 6, and there it is. It's applied correctly. Beautiful. I will do the cover as well. Just to speed this process up, I won't do all of the materials, I just want to show you those. So next up, whoops, was I said the cover. Alright, here's the cover. Whoops, let's now choose a color, which is going to be once again a file. Let's navigate to our cover base color, which is in book. So cover base color, there it is. I should be able to see that now on the cover, and I can. Fantastic. Okay. Next up, okay, we'll quickly do the pages as well. Erase that. Click on pages. Clicking this one shows it here. Same thing. Color, file. Search for our file. Desktop, book, and this one is pages. Pages, base. There they are, and that should be applied now, and it is. But you notice the normal map's not applied. Okay, let's do the normal map for at least the pages. Pages, there we are. Normal maps, you need to scroll down till you hit. Let's have a look. I'll bring this up a bit so you guys can see. The one we want is geometry. Geometry and bump mapping. Checker. Going to be a file. Now we want to look for the file of, oh, better change use as bump. It's not a bump map, it's a tangent space normals. Come up to here, look for our file, which is desktop once again, book, and it was pages normal. That's looking better. There they are. Now if I look in here, you can actually see the bump map being applied. It's a little bit too harsh, so I'm just going to come into here. There it is there. Reduce the bump depth to about, say, 0.6. A little bit more subtle, yeah? And you'll notice in here, normal camera, That's where your bump is. There's the image. Okay, and okay, that's cool. Okay guys, let's just do a quick little render here, and oh, actually I'll add the cover. Go back to cover. Let's add the normal map for this as well, so you can see it again. That one, file, tangent space, click here, find our file, way back and back into book. Now this one I said was the cover normal. There, that's better. I'm going to go to this one and just change the once again I'll go say 0.6, and that should be it. Should be applied there, and it is. You can see it there. Let's see what we actually get now when we render it. To render Arnold, we need a light, sky dome, and I'm going to put in a ground plane. We're nearly finished, by the way, guys. I'm doing this just to show you guys what we actually get. Pull it down a bit. Okay, let's render that and see what we come up with. Close this for now. Arnold, open Arnold render view, and I'll hit play. Now I have not adjusted the lighting at all. It's stock standard, and it's working. I can see the bump mapping being applied, the pages and everything. Okie doke. Now you guys understand you got a roughness, you got a metalness, etc. I'll put it to you guys to work out how to apply those. Looking pretty good. So I will now adjust my dome light, bring the intensity or resolution is important if you want high quality. It slows your render time down, and samples if you want quality shadows. Right, and if I scroll down, I'm going to change visibility on my light to way down here. We still get the same intensity of light, but the actual light background should be now darker. The same intensity but darker. That's looking pretty good. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And of course I could now go in and keep painting in Substance Painter. I'd have to update the textures back in Maya when I export them again, but in general you get the idea. I'll stop this. Looking pretty good, I feel. I could definitely apply the normal map to the book. The spine, it has not got it applied yet, but this is looking pretty good. Now I'm going to change my resolution of my render settings here. Common, I'm going to go as a JPEG and scroll down. Perspective camera, HD 540 to HD 1080. That's the image size. Now it's much larger, and you could even come over to Arnold render tab and start to, I'm not using any subsurface scattering, no volume lights, transmission is 0, specular I'll put that to 1, diffuse I'll go up to 3, and camera to 4, just to speed up some of my rendering if I'm lucky. And let's see what we get. I'll just reduce the size of this so you guys can see it. Push play, and it's much higher resolution. It's going to take a bit longer, well, much longer to render, but in general you should be able to now see an increase in quality in terms of the shadows, the lighting being applied as it's being cast onto this different texture on the book. Now this is going to take a while to render, so I'll just pause here and I'll show you the final rendered piece. Okay guys? Okay guys, so here it is. You're seeing a final render. I've just added a little sphere, a ball here, but I've rendered it out. You can see the normal mapping taking effect. There's the spine, etc., and just a little bit of extra light. Alright, and I've added a ground plane with a wood texture. So, come out okay. Of course there's room for improvement here. Roughness map, specular map needs to be properly applied. Okay, yeah, cool. So I'll just close that. Here's the original so you guys can see it. So that's a quick run through of texturing. Okay, hopefully that helps, and I look forward to viewing your progress as you guys move into UV mapping and texturing in Substance Painter and applying those textures to a AI standard surface material back in Maya. Okay, thanks for watching, guys.